You said you had studied with Joe Morello and a couple of others. I think that needs to go back to for a second. You literally studied with Joe Morello?
I did. I was so hungry to study with Joe Morello and so driven that I started studying with him before I had a driver's license. And I would take an airplane, People's Express, which I don't know if anybody remembers that airline. You don't want to remember it. It made Southwest look like a private jet. Right. And so I was literally, you'd go to the airport, and for $25, you would take a number, and the flights left every hour from Boston, where I'm from, to Newark, where Joe was teaching in that area. And you stood in line, and you basically just waited until your number was called, and then you finally just walked on any seat you could get. And they would count the seats, and they go, okay, we can take 8 more people. And then they call 8 more people in line. And that's how I would go back and forth. And then I finally got my driver's license. And then I would drive 6 hours, take a 3-hour lesson, and drive 6 hours home. I couldn't afford a hotel. And I would just sleep in truck stops. I remember one day I was driving home. I fell asleep, and I almost hit a concrete, pillar and on a bridge, and a truck driver. I was in the median about to smash into it and die, honestly. And a truck driver beeped his horn and woke me up, and I swerved back onto the road.
Thank God.
So it was, wasn't easy. And I was studying with him and coming home. And at the time, everything would be recorded on a cassette. The lesson would be on a cassette. And I'd change cassettes on the 3-hour point, because, it was like 90-minute cassettes. So I'd have 3 or 4 cassettes, and I'd turn them over, and I'd have to listen for when it clicked and go, okay, Joe, hold on. We got to go to the next side of the cassette. And I'd put my little library of Morello lesson cassettes, and I would go home and listen to it and look at my notes and look at the book. And it was just incredible. And it was so impactful and so life-changing in terms of how much he helped me improve as a drummer, that when I met Dom Famularo and I realized in fairly short order what he taught and how he learned his craft and how he really legitimately blends Morello with Chapin, with Stone, with Moeller, with Shelly Manne, with Gladstone. He's such a renaissance man. And it's so unbelievably and incredible that I was dying to do it, because I stopped studying with Joe when my technology career was taking off. And I really stopped before I got into a lot of things I wanted to learn, but I just didn't have the time to do it and the need at the time, because I had to make a living, and there's only so many hours in the day. And now at this point, I can carve out a little time to practice every day and kind of do some things that nourish me and my spirit. And playing and learning the drums and being better at them is one of them. And Joe Morello's passed on. And I'm like, well, I want to study with Joe Morello again. I want to call up Joe. Let's pick up where we left off. Let's go. We'll do it over Skype. I'll fly to New Jersey again if I have to, whatever we got to do. Sure. And here's Dom Famularo, who's all of that plus these other techniques. Right. And he is just really single-handedly changing the face of drum education. Right. And I can speak personally from what he's teaching me, and you can speak to it for sure, because he's teaching you as well, that this is really the real deal. And this is something that is groundbreaking, because I really am picking up where I left off with Joe Morello. And I'm having the time of my life. It's a game changer, man. It's a game changer.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and Dom is certainly so inspirational, drumming and life-wise. If you had to put it in a nutshell, David, what would you say the biggest lessons, the biggest thing you got from Joe Morello?
Oh man, lots of things. But I think that the natural movement of drumming, when everybody talks about don't tense up, and they use a lot of buzzwords and they use a lot of concepts, but they don't ever really give you the data to back it up so you can truly apply it and play that way. And Joe Morello does. He does apply it and play that way, and did now Dom does. So I think natural drumming is so huge because it'll allow you to play for your whole life and avoid injury, which is one of the number one things that stops a lot of us drummers from continuing our drumming is physical issues from drumming and not knowing how to have the muscles work for us as opposed to hurt us or be hurt. And I think that I also learned, I got a lot of life lessons from Joe on the fly. Like, like Dom teaches very methodical and, he's a master teacher. Joe was a master teacher, but not in a methodical way. Joe was a master teacher. Like I almost had to guide him a little bit, and he would just give you these tidbits that were gold on the fly. And he, like, I remember him saying to me once, when you're putting your set together, or you're doing set, meaning music set, not drum set, not setting it up, but actually like a musical, arrangement of songs.
Yes.
He would say, when you're putting your set together, or any kind of presentation, anything that you're out there, you're playing with, and you got a band, or you're doing your own solo show. He goes, always remember to end with the drum solo, because you can't follow anything with a drum solo. Maybe you can do a song or two to close the night out, but that's about it. Well, that seems like common sense, but it was really insightful because a lot of times I would put the solo at the beginning or the middle. And I remember seeing Van Halen all the time, and Alex usually soloed in the first or second or third song. That was pretty common when I saw them live. He would solo early. But Joe was right. Like when you see like Carl Palmer, as I said, my favorite drummer and a big inspiration. He always solos at the end. Buddy always soloed at the end. Louis always soloed at the end. I see Dave Weckl. I happened to just see him recently. He solos at the end. So it's his advice. I mean, this is in 1985 or something, and his advice is still as relevant and helpful as it was then. So we've got natural movement, how to make the physics of drumsticks and drumming work for you and with you, how to put sticks and rhythm in motion and have it continue in motion while you generate the ideas, you generate the accents, you generate how you want to say it musically, but the physical nature of it is done through natural movement and physics. And I think that that's a really important thing to learn. And I'm glad that Joe, I'm really blessed I had the opportunity to study with him, and now with Dom.